Thor smashes a coffee cup on the diner floor and shouts for another in one of the film's most charming moments. That scene was never written. These are 15 hidden details you completely missed in Thor. Number 15. Thor smashes a coffee cup on the diner floor and shouts for another, and every viewer reads it as a perfectly crafted character moment. It was not written at all. Actor Chris Hemsworth improvised the entire gesture and line on set, and director Kenneth Branagh kept it immediately. Producer Kevin Feige confirmed in published interviews that this improvised beat became the seed for every tonal decision Taika Waititi made in Thor Ragnarok years later. Watch the diner staff reaction right after the smash. Their pause reads as real surprise because it is real surprise, not scripted performance. The defining personality trait of the MCU's most beloved hero was never in any draft of the screenplay. The man playing opposite him came within weeks of wearing the cape himself. Number 14. Loki reads as a role built specifically for actor Tom Hiddleston from the very first frame. He never auditioned for Loki. Hiddleston trained for 6 weeks, gained approximately 20 pounds of muscle, and filmed a full-screen test in a blonde wig for the role of Thor. Branagh, who already knew Hiddleston from the BBC series Wallander, redirected him to Loki based on the mischievous intelligence he saw in the room. Hiddleston modeled Loki on Iago from Shakespeare's Othello, a connection Branagh confirms on the DVD commentary. Watch Loki's deliberate stillness in the throne room. That restraint came from a theatrical background, not a superhero playbook. The MCU's greatest villain was built on a hero's preparation, which makes every scene between the brothers read completely differently. Number 13. Chris Hemsworth is the defining face of Thor, and the casting feels inevitable. His first audition went so badly that Marvel stopped responding to him entirely. Hemsworth said in interviews he walked out certain he had performed well, then heard nothing back for months. His younger brother Liam advanced further in that first round. Hemsworth's manager pushed directly to producer Kevin Feige for a second audition after Chris filmed The Cabin in the Woods, and a stronger showing reversed the decision. According to Collider, the 6-picture deal was secured from near total rejection. Watch the coronation sequence and notice the physical confidence on screen. That certainty was built by an actor who came within one callback of never being cast. The role was also offered to a sitting James Bond, who turned it down. Number 12. The casting of Thor appears straightforward, but the final choice arrived after a long list of serious contenders. Daniel Craig was actively offered the role by Marvel and turned it down due to Bond commitments. Among those who tested, Charlie Hunnam, Alexander Skarsgård, Joel Kinnaman, and Kevin McKidd. Branagh's directive was to find someone who could make ancient nobility feel physically real rather than merely imposing. The final shortlist came down to Chris Hemsworth and his own younger brother Liam before a second audition reversed the outcome. Watch the moment Thor walks through the shield compound and controls the space around him. That specific physical gravity is what Branagh was searching for in every audition room, and the visual style of every scene he inhabits was itself a deeply controversial directorial choice. Number 11. The film is full of tilted camera angles, and many viewers find the style unusual. Every canted shot was deliberate. Cinematographer Harris Zambarlukos said the decision was rooted in the geometry of Jack Kirby's original comic panels and German expressionist cinema. Branagh stated on the Blu-ray commentary that the Dutch angles reflect the dissonance and harmony between the two brothers and the two worlds. He and Zambarlukos had never used that many tilted shots before and have not used that many since. Look at any Loki corridor scene versus any Thor desert sequence. The angle of the camera tells you which world is in frame before a word is spoken. Branagh also embedded a specific historical reference into the film's most emotional scene that almost no viewer has identified. Number 10. The moment Odin tears the chest armor from Thor before banishing him reads as pure superhero drama. Branagh confirmed on the DVD commentary that he modeled this sequence directly on the 1937 film, The Life of Emile Zola, in which Captain Alfred Dreyfus has military epaulets torn from his uniform. Anthony Hopkins approached Odin's collapse as a King Lear moment, while actor Colm Fiore described rehearsals as working in Shakespearean shorthand between takes. Hopkins improvised his full emotional reaction during the banishment, and both Hemsworth and Hiddleston said they had to fight to maintain composure. Watch the pace of Odin's hand when removing the breastplate. The deliberate slowness mirrors the 1937 scene exactly. The vault sequence preceding it contains a planted Easter egg that caused years of unresolved debate. Number 9. During the Frost Giant break-in, a recognizable golden glove sits inside Odin's vault, fully assembled years before Thanos appears. The prop was a right-handed gauntlet, which created a continuity issue because Thanos uses a left-handed gauntlet in later films. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige told press that the Vault Gauntlet was a planted fake, with the payoff arriving in Thor: Ragnarok when Hela knocks it over and calls it a replica. The original 2011 placement was an Easter egg with no attached resolution plan. Pause the vault sequence and look at the gauntlet's orientation. The detail that sparked years of debate about a unified MCU master plan is visible for approximately 3 seconds. The vault also contains other deliberate references to Marvel publishing history that most audiences miss entirely. Number 8. On-screen text throughout the New Mexico town reads as background decoration. Production designer Bo Welch seeded the location with deliberate references. A travel billboard visible in the desert advertises Journey into Mystery, the comic series where Thor first appeared in August 1962. On the Blu-ray commentary, Branagh confirms multiple text pieces were placed intentionally, including a page in Selvig's research book that reads, "Thursday equals Thor's Day." Visual effects studio Whiskey Tree also incorporated Kirby-influenced fractal geometry into Asgard's architecture at a level invisible to the casual eye. Look at the travel board in the upper right corner of the frame when the destroyer arrives. The reference is there for several seconds. An archer also appears later in the same compound who was written into the film after principal photography had already begun. Number 7. Jeremy Renner's Clint Barton appears in the S.H.I.E.L.D. compound with a compound bow, already established as a skilled operative. That scene was not in the original shooting script. The Hawkeye material was written during pickups by writer Christopher Yost and Joss Whedon, who arrived specifically to add connective tissue for the Avengers. The footage was filmed in a parking lot behind a grocery store. Branagh confirmed the scene was inserted as a bridge, not a character introduction. Look at where Renner is positioned. He is on a hydraulic crane lift, center frame for several seconds, then never addressed again in the film. The scene that follows Thor in the credits was also not directed by Branagh, and the shoot was so technically difficult it changed how the entire next film was photographed. Number 6. The mid-credits scene with Nick Fury presenting actor Stellan Skarsgård's Selvig with the Tesseract reads as a clean handoff. Joss Whedon directed it, not Branagh. Marvel used it as a test for native 3D photography, and the experience was so cumbersome that the studio decided to film the Avengers in 2D and post-convert. That single shoot changed the photographic approach of the next film. Loki's reflection also appears on the wall behind Selvig at the moment he agrees to examine the cube, establishing Loki had already taken control before the Avengers begins. Pause the final frame and look at the wall behind Selvig. The reflection is visible before the cut to black. Loki's most critical in film decision also came from an actor's choice made against the written page. Number 5. In the scene where Odin collapses into the Odin sleep, the script called for Loki to reach down and physically cradle him. Hiddleston decided a man who had just learned he was a frost giant would be too afraid to touch the person he believed was his father. He played the hesitation instead, and Branagh allowed the change without returning to the scripted version. The pullback lasts approximately 2 seconds and reframes the entire arc. His refusal to reach down is not coldness, it is a person who no longer knows what he is, or whether the figure before him is truly his family. Watch Hiddleston's hands in that scene. They reach and then stop. A deleted scene on the Blu-ray reveals how differently his entire path was originally designed. Number 4. A deleted scene on the Blu-ray shows Frigga handing Loki the throne directly, placing Gungnir in his hands and telling him the succession falls to him. In the deleted version, Loki accepts it in stunned disbelief rather than calculated intent. The theatrical cut removes this entirely, repositioning his path to power as opportunistic rather than accidental. The cut was made to streamline Loki's motivations before the Avengers. Watch the Frigga Odin sleep scene in the deleted material and compare Loki's posture to his posture in the theatrical throne room. The villain audiences watched in the Avengers was originally a man handed power he had not sought, and the film containing this story had been circling it in failed development for nearly 20 years before reaching a cinema screen. Number 3. Thor reads as a confident Marvel production at full momentum. The project had been stuck in failed development since the early 1990s. With rights shifting between studios, screenwriter Mark Protasevich's original draft was budgeted at an estimated $300 million. Matthew Vaughn was brought in to rewrite it to half that cost before Branagh inherited the project in 2008, after Vaughn's holding deal expired. Protasevich's earlier draft set the Earth sections in the Middle Ages with Thor enslaved by Norsemen. Thor's half-brother Balder appeared in early concept art and was removed for budget. Look at the New Mexico town set. That entire location was constructed from scratch on an existing Western movie ranch because 20 years of rewrites had reduced the surrounding ambitions to something filmable. Number 2. The film carries unexpected emotional weight, and the reason traces directly to Branagh's literary background. He told the Washington Post he designed Thor's arc around Prince Hal from Shakespeare's Henry IV plays, reckless royalty learning what kingship demands. Hopkins mapped Odin's collapse directly onto King Lear. The end titles sequence pulls back from Earth through a wormhole until the camera reveals the Norse cosmic tree Yggdrasil. VFX supervisor Wesley Sewell called it a cinematic first, built from Branagh's directive to show that mythology and cosmology are the same thing. Production designer Bo Welch was given the brief of future antiquity, with no roads in Asgard. Watch the very last frame of the end credits. The zoom out resolves not into the universe, but into a 2,000-year-old map of existence. Number 1. Loki is considered the MCU's first truly great villain, controlled and layered in a way that stood apart from every superhero film before it. The entire physical and emotional architecture of the performance was built while Hiddleston was preparing to play the hero. He modeled Loki's verbal style on Cassius from Julius Caesar, lean and hungry, thinks too much, a choice Branagh actively encouraged. After gaining 20 pounds for his Thor audition, Hiddleston shed the weight for Loki, a direct translation of the Cassius body note from Shakespeare's text. Every scene he plays alongside Hemsworth was shaped by 6 weeks of learning how to be the hero instead. Watch any scene where Loki advises caution. The restraint belongs to a man who rehearsed heroism and applied it to something else entirely. Thor is a film where the villain trained to be the hero, the most iconic personality trait was never scripted, and a deleted scene would have rewritten the MCU's greatest villain as a reluctant king. Every Dutch angle rewards a second viewing. Which hidden detail surprised you most? And what film should we open next?